welcome back to Just Josh Draws. I am Just Josh, and apologize for the absence and gap in videos. Things have just been a little bit crazy in my life. I'm actually getting ready to move, so that'll be happening in the next couple of weeks. In regards to today's video, I wanted to make sure I got something up for you guys that would be pretty interesting. So today's character is one that's a little bit relevant because tomorrow is going to be St. Patrick's Day, and I decided for today's Myths Illustrated, I was going to draw a leprechaun. Now, I usually try to have some story that goes along with these illustrations so you guys get a more deep basis of a character, but surprisingly, leprechauns don't actually feature in a lot of old folklore and mythology. They actually became popular once immigrants from Ireland came here to the United States. It's just definitely something that took a while to find a story that I could use for today's illustration, but I did happen to find one that's been retold a few times, one of which was the one that I'll be referencing the most, and it's actually by the author Linda. I forgot her last name, but I'll definitely link everything in the description down below so you guys can see the original fairy tale. I do apologize. I'm just riffing today. As you can see, the setup's a little... Thank you, John. But yeah, no, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started and telling you the tale of the farmer and the leprechaun. The story of the farmer and the leprechaun starts off with a farmer who goes into the woods to collect some items that he needs, and he stumbles upon a leprechaun. This leprechaun, I believe in different versions, he's either making shoes by a fire or he's just enjoying himself with some spirits. Essentially, the farmer catches the leprechaun, and when he does, he insists that he shows him where he's keeping his treasure. The leprechaun, is a little smarter than the guy thinks, but in the moment, he agrees and says that he'll show him the tree where his treasure is buried. So he leads him for quite a while until he takes him to that tree and tells him that the treasure is buried underneath it. The farmer realizes the obvious, that he came into the woods without a shovel, so he can't exactly break the earth to dig this treasure up. The leprechaun realizes and says that is quite a dilemma. When the farmer says, essentially the obvious, if I let you go, you're probably going to run away. And of course the leprechaun agrees. He says, why wouldn't I? So the human, farmer realizes that based on the folklore of Fey folk, that if you make them swear something, they're supposed to keep their word, regardless of what it is. So he tells the leprechaun this, and the leprechaun does concur what he believes. Says, yes, I would have to keep my promise. The farmer makes him promise that he won't touch the tree where the treasure is buried. He won't move the treasure, and that when he ties a red ribbon around it, he won't mess with the ribbon either. The leprechaun, feigns shock and surprise that this, farmer is so knowledgeable, and then agrees and says he won't touch the ribbon. The man, thinking that he's tricked the leprechaun, runs off back home to get a shovel so that he can come back and dig up the treasure. When he returns to roughly that area of the woods, he starts to realize that every single tree for miles around in that forest that is of the same type is covered in an identical red ribbon, so that he cannot find the original tree that had the treasure under it. Of course, this is basically the end of the story, is the man's heartbroken that he essentially was tricked by a leprechaun. I mean, truthfully, most of the time I actually side with the leprechaun because, it's his treasure in the first place. But leprechauns in this way kind of remind me of most stories of fairy folk or genies or other magical creatures, and the fact that you got to kind of be careful how you ask questions to them because the answers they give you usually contain loopholes. In regards to it, there's actually some other interesting things about leprechauns. For one, leprechauns don't actually feature in most mythology in Ireland, and not a very common character in most stories. They play a supporting role in very, very few legends, and their name is slightly different as well. Forget the pronunciation, I'll put it on the screen. There's also actually another type of leprechaun that specifically guards wine cellars and places where alcohol is stored. Their name is similar to a leprechaun. I'll also put that up on the screen. But essentially they're like the drunk cousins of regular leprechauns. After looking into leprechauns, I found that their origin was more commonly widespread once the Irish immigrated to the United States, because they suffered some, xenophobia or racism when they first arrived. Because of course, a lot of the time back in the day especially, and unfortunately even now, people are afraid of things they don't understand or things they don't know very well. So when the Irish first came there, they struggled with that segregation or racism when they first arrived. So a way to kind of involve the other Americans into their traditions like St. Patrick's Day and things like that, and to make it a fun thing for everybody to help ease those tensions, the Irish people began to use the leprechaun as a fun mascot of sorts to essentially make the holidays more inclusive. That's where we get the green, drinks and, all the things that you associate with St. Paddy's Day, the symbolism. It all comes from that effort to help bring unity between the Irish immigrants and, the people, the Americans who are already here. Another interesting thing is leprechauns don't actually wear green in most mythology. In most stories, they actually wear red outfits with gold trim and tri-pointed hats. Kind of like a Paul Revere vibes. So I was surprised at this, and I was tempted to go ahead and focus on that style for the illustration of the character, but I opted instead to go with a vibe that everybody's familiar with, which is, making a kind of realistic outfit of the green, St. Paddy's Day influence costume of the leprechaun. And that is the end of the illustration and the story. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I found it kind of a fun little tale. It reminds me of genies. You got to be careful what you wish for in regards to what you ask of a magical creature. And leprechauns are little cheeky guys. So if you guys enjoyed the illustrations and the overall story in the video, and you learned something and you enjoyed it, please definitely go ahead and give me a like, a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be uploading more content as soon as things settle down a little bit more, and it's going to be coming more frequently. I can't wait to do another animated short as well here in the near future. Yeah, if you could hit the notification bell as well, it'll notify you whenever I upload a video, so you can keep up on that. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, keep creating. Bye.